we're hosting Dr. Norman Kiogora, who's the director at the Kenya Institute of Special Education. Thank you very much, Daktari.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, we are delighted that you honored our invitation. And earlier on, even before we came on air, we were talking about your relationship with institutions that include the World Bank. And I looked at some estimates that the World Bank was giving. They're saying that disability can affect up to 15% of any country around the world. And I was thinking that's a substantial number. So from your vantage point as a director of an important institution like Kenya Institute of Special Education, let's just start by first hearing, what is the biggest, the most significant contribution you as an organization have made towards building disability inclusion?
Thank you, Mboya, once more. I want to say that we are really riding on at the moment is the expansion of assessment. Because through assessment, you are able to identify the needs and the power, the capacity of every learner in every special school. And the other one I can also mention, very critical also, is the leading by the government at the moment in providing devices for special needs in special schools. For the first time in the last 2 years running, the government has been deliberate in making that every school receive devices for the learners. And the third one is the leading by from top by the president himself, whereby he directed that the institute, through the Ministry of Education, builds a factory to produce devices for learners with special needs. And this factory is a one-stop shop, whereby every specialty will be provided so that we can be able to remove the barriers of special needs learners by giving the devices that they require.
Okay. You talk about education, and I'm thinking, how effective is our current education system? I know we have the CBC kind of system that is in place, but how do you, for special needs children, identify, at the primary levels, at the tertiary levels, at the, how do you identify those special kids, and proceed to nurture their talents? Because recently we had a young gifted boy here in the studio, and he built something that he didn't learn inside the classroom. All right. So beyond the assessments, how do you nurture those special need kids?
One thing very critical, and I'm happy you brought that question, Mboya. I want to say, disability does not prevent from becoming the best. So very critical is the assessment. First of all, when you assess, you identify the extent of disability, and then the necessary intervention. So very key person who can be able to support any learner is the teacher, the trainer, who has special needs skills. So when you see a learner has special skills, gifted and talented, the person who can be able to help this particular learner to the next level is the teacher who has the skills. Many times, learners who are talented and gifted, they're not seen as special because those who are handling them don't have the expertise. So very critical, the teacher who is specialized in identifying and supporting that learner is a very key person.
Let's go back to the children who are disabled or abled differently. When we talk about inclusivity in schools, many Kenyans perhaps in their mind might think of, brick and mortar. You have infrastructure like ramps, you have toilets that can be used by the children who are disabled. But what does a truly inclusive classroom look like in terms of teaching methodologies, for example, the curricula, peer-to-peer interactions, etc., etc.?
So one critical thing that's very important for every learner, the environment must be conducive, must be accessible to that particular learner. The other thing that's very critical for that learner, he must be able to exploit his potential in totality. And this one becomes very critical in the design of the classroom. How is it designed? Is the class conducive? For example, if a learner is in a wheelchair, how do we prepare the desk to look like? If this particular learner is autistic, how do we prepare the furniture that is using? Is it tall? How big is it? So the furniture must be friendly, accessible to the learners. In short, I'm saying the facilities.
Okay.
But very critical also, the teacher. That's very important because the person who is in this learner's life is the teacher on a day-to-day basis in the classroom.
What brick and mortar, what soft critical, especially when you're teaching this young?
One, I have said you must be able to identify this particular learner capacity to handle specific items. I want to give an example.
Yeah.
For example, if a learner is doing, let's say, some carpentry job, if this learner is only to do standing alone, the teacher should be able to support that particular aspect, not the totality of being a carpenter, but that particular aspect that the teacher is able to see in that learner. The others will be able to paint, nothing else. They can paint. And then that particular aspect alone is supported by the teacher, and then that particular aspect is supported to come in totality. But without allowing this particular learner to do everything else that's done by any other regular person. Okay. You identify the strength, and then you support that particular strength, that particular learner.
There are some parents who are even watching this show now, and they have children who are disabled. And there's this question also of stigma. Some beliefs that we have had for a long time. Some of them believe that those children, there are curses behind them. How do you, outside your institution, do you have any awareness programs that you run, to sensitize those kind of parents and tell them that it is okay? Your children are just abled differently. Please bring them over to a classroom and let them learn.
Boya, what you're saying is true. Stigma has been an issue, but we've been deliberate also in our activities. Through the outreaches, we have been able to hold barazas with the leaders in Nyumbakumi, certain areas. From July to date, we have been able to visit 14 counties. Of course, with the other partners like Safaricom, so that we have to speak to the parent, to the community, that every child, irrespective of the disability, can learn. It will not be the same day, the same week, but they will learn. And they are able to do anything that can be done by another person because they are equally built, they are equally born like another child.
What are some of the challenges that you have encountered in the course of your work to empower these disabled children?
One, of course, the numbers, like assessment. The other day when we spoke out, but the other thing that's very critical also, one of the challenges is also the parental empowerment. Some parents are not empowered to handle their children with special needs. So when the child is there, for example, how do you handle that particular child? That is why now we have been able to come up with the Center for the Parent who can be given the skills. When you get a child with special needs, you are given the support, you are counseled and enabled to handle that particular kid as per the disability that child has. So if you were to have a sitting with the CS who's in charge of security, of education, what is the one concrete commitment you would ask the CS to make, to advance disability inclusion urgently? What is very critical at the moment, very critical, is assessment. Because through assessment, especially now, with the new curriculum, you have to identify every learner's competencies. And then you know that particular child strength. You know how to support that particular learner. So to me, assessment is the top in terms of identifying the ability of every particular child so that they can be supported. And it must also be early. Because once you do it early, you are able to provide the support on a timely basis. When you get it late, then also you can be sure there will be challenges in the process.
So there's nothing you would put to the CS if you were to meet him in helping you advance?
Critical is the ER countrywide, because KISE now is the national referral center for assessment. Kids come from all over. So setting up of regional centers, very critical. The government wants to open 10 of them. But you see, we must be able to reach out to every county. Yeah. Of course, the support of every stakeholder, so that we are able to reach each and every corner of this country. So setting up of EAC centers, very critical in every part of this country. Because you see kids traveling all over the country, coming to the National Referral Center, and you are overwhelmed by the numbers.
Okay, so as we wind up, what would be your final message to the parents who are watching this show and wondering what next for them?
What I want to assure the parent that their children have no problem. What they must be able to do is to have them assessed by the expert. They are not sick, and once they are assessed, then they are able to get the support that the government gives out. Something that has not been said also about is the impact of SHA on special needs children. Right now, SHA, what it is doing, it is paying for all the expenses for physiotherapy services, for assessment, for every child with special needs, and also the medication is being fed totally by the new medical covers.
So in the counties, what would be the preferred institutions to visit for those children who want, for those parents who want their children to be taken for assessment? Is it any hospital? Is it a referral hospitals that we have in the counties?
We have hospitals that are doing this one also, but very critical also is what we are calling EAC centers, very important. And they are there.
They're called what?
They're called HEACs, Assessment Centers for Children with Special Needs. We have officers who are able to support them in those centers. Because when the child is assessed by somebody who knows how to assess, you know, they're not even sick. They're not sick. Yeah. These kids are airborne differently. And therefore, in those particular centers, the EAC centers, every learner now can be supported by being assigned by that particular assessor to identify the extent of disability. And then this assessor is one who will recommend, is this child having a medical issue or just a functional issue? And then be able to say, no, this child belongs to a school that is inclusive, or this child belongs to a special school. But we can say that every child is special to us because they have the capacity to do what any other regular child can do. They require the environment and the support.
Thank you very much. That's a good place to leave it. Every child is special, and every child has the capacity to do whatever they would want to do in life, regardless of being abled differently.
They can do anything.
And by the way, finally, is there a distinction between people with disability and people abled differently?
People may confuse the two of them, basically, but these children, all of them, you know, it's the same thing they're addressing to. They use them interchangeably, but all these children, they're special.
Thank you.
And I've seen it again. Even those children who have the talent and gifted, they're also special.
I want to thank you, Dr. Norman Kiogora, Director, Kenya Institute of Special Education. Thank you so much for giving us those deep insights. Well, we're going to...
Thank you for having me also.
Thank you very much. And we hope you'll come again.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll be looking at the day's business, and also we'll be looking at the day's sports. Stay with us.